Begin here, at the binding, blood pressed to blood, before a court that has forgotten how to breathe. You look at them, and you ask, what brings a mortal to a queen's dagger of his own free will? Patience, my dear. I was there. I remember all of it. But to understand this man, you must first understand what the winters made of him. Voskarn. 3 years under siege in the war they came to call the Red Snow. In its last winter, one soldier led 40 men across a frozen river by night, and by morning the siege was broken, and every cruelty of that war had been repaid in kind, coin for coin. The army gave him a name for it.
I was there. 9th Company, South Bank. 3 winters we froze under those walls, and one night, he walks the line with a coil of rope and says the river will hold. 40 men across the river, and by dawn the gates were ash. Raise them high, you dogs, to the reckoner.
In taverns across the South they drink to that name still, but songs carry only what fits in a cup. What the valley looked like when the ice went out in spring, that only one man carries, and he does not drink to it. He went north instead, traded his name for wood and leather and quiet, and got very good at mending things. Some things, of course, are beyond mending.
Corvan, open up, man, it's me.
Door's not locked. Never is.
Ilara did not raise her voice for small trouble. When he saw her eyes, he set the harness down.
Sit. You look like the war.
It's Mara. They took Mara.
The name landed in this small room, like dropped blade. Mara, Ilara's little sister, the one who fed his mule apples through the fence and called him the quiet one when she thought he couldn't hear.
Where is she?
The old mill. Drained white, Corvan. And marked. The blue-gray mark, just like the others.
How many others?
3 this year. 3 that we know of. The miller's father in spring, the Hollis girl 2 days wed in summer, now Mara. And we all just kept sawing timber.
The village council?
The council says the tide is the tide, and the ones who question it end up in it.
The blue-gray mark, the tithe brand of the Velvet Court. It means ownership, and it means death. And for Corvan Dreth, it meant the reckoning he thought he had buried had come knocking on his own door. It always begins with a sound.
Show me the mill.
The mill was as cold as what it held. Mara, a young woman, with her whole name still ahead of her, youngest sister of the comrade who had once carried Corvan off a frozen field at Voskarn.
When was she last seen?
2 nights passed. The mill was locked from the outside, Corvan. Locked and her inside.
Who holds keys?
The foreman, in the tithemen, and we said nothing, Corvan. We always say nothing. That's how it works. That's how it has always worked.
Not anymore.
He read the floor the way other men read letters.
2 sets of boots, heavy. Unhurried, they feared nothing here. And her tracks between them, barefoot in winter, calm as a churchgoer, until they stopped mid-stride. She stopped walking, and they carried her. That's not fear, Ilara. That's something done to her mind.
The old women call it the velvet sleep. They say when the court wants you quiet, you go quiet. They say you smile.
Who else was here that night? The mill doesn't lock itself.
The foreman says he was at his hearth. The foreman also has new silver on his belt and won't meet my eyes. Corvan, he drinks at the tithemen's table.
He didn't answer at first. He was reading the mill the way he had once read battlefields, the barrels, the tools, the trails in the sawdust leading out into the dark. The quiet timber hauler knelt down beside the body. Something else stood up.
The foreman's debt can wait. He's just a puppet. I want the hand that controls him.
Don't let them get away with it. I know what I'm asking you to become again. I'm asking anyway.
You carried me off the ice at Voskarn. I never paid that back.
That was never a debt.
Everything is. Go home, Elora.
And whatever you hear in the next few nights, you didn't hear it.
What you did at Voskarn. Can you still...
We'll know by morning.
Night in Mirholt is a thicker kind of fog. Corvan moved through it like a man going down a well, unseen, with rope and knife toward the one villager who saw everything and admitted nothing. Tam, the rag seller. Every village has one. Too frightened to act, too curious to look away.
I saw nothing, stranger. Nothing.
The girl in the mill who carried her there.
You don't ask that. Nobody asks that.
I'm not nobody. Sit down.
Corvan let the silence answer for him. He leaned into the candlelight and let the man have a long look at his face. From certain men, silence persuades better than any blade.
I know you. The timberman off the North Road. So it's true then, what they say you were before. A soldier. They say worse.
They're right. The tithe-men. Where do they sleep?
The bone cuts. The old quarries, past the crooked pine. Enough of them den there that nobody counts anymore. The thin one keeps the book. Kyle, he prices everyone.
Go to bed, Tam. Lock nothing. Locks tell them you have something left.
Please, you didn't hear it from me. They know the sound of their own names.
He left the man to his candle and his shaking, and walked toward the quarries, toward the path that would carry him a great deal further than revenge. For mortals, the bone cuts are a place of dread. For the court's lesser tithe-men, a refuge. For a man who still knew how to hunt, they were a larder. He watched the quarry for a night and a day, counted the wagon, the doors, the sleepers, then went down among them. The first died at the wagon, medion, rope around the throat, knee in the spine. They are strong, the lesser ones, but strength wants warning, and he gave none.
For the miller's father.
The second, in the mouth of a sleeping cut, opened its eyes to a knife it never saw drawn.
For the Hollis girl. 2 days wed.
By the second night, the bone cuts had gone quiet, and the ones that remained had stopped sleeping and started hiding. It did not help them. He was patient in a way no hungry thing can be. And one by one, name by name, the quarry learned what the South had learned at Voskarn.
For Mara.
12 ash piles, and arithmetic pointed to the one who kept the accounts.
No, please, I keep the books, that's all. I follow orders.
The ledger. Give it to me.
You don't understand what you've done. 11 of the court's own. Ash on the quarry floor. There's no ransom for that. No apology. There's nothing.
12. You miscounted the one in the wagon. The book!
You think I chose that girl? Names come down from above, priced, chosen, sealed in wax. I'm a clerk.
Chosen by whom?
We don't look at the last page. Nobody looks at the last page. That's the first thing they teach you when they hand you the book.
Then you won't miss it. The ledger.
Take that book, and every debt in it lands on you.
Good. I collect debts.
Cale dropped the book. It was, I will grant him, the only wise act of his small, cruel life, and it did not save him. But mark this, my dear, and keep it close. He died easily, far too easily. In the shelter of a rocky overhang, by a fire built small, Corvan opened the white ledger. It prices Mirholt's stolen lives, name by name, and not only Mirholt's. Village after village, fence after fence, season after season. A whole country kept like accounts.
There she is, a page like any other. Not one of them written as killed, priced. She wasn't murdered to them. She was inventory.
And then the final leaf, the page nobody looks at. No names there. 7 seals in black wax, unsigned and unnamed, and warm. He snatched his hand back the first time he touched one. Warm like skin, warm like a pulse.
Wax doesn't hold heat. Not in this cold. Not for days on a dead man's book.
A village tithe book had no business carrying marks like those. He had cut at a tendril and felt something very old twitch at the far end of it. He sat with the book until the fire died, memorizing 7 shapes he could not read. They found him on the quarry road. The first rider was in the dust before his snarl finished. The second learned what a mortal knife can write on an immortal face.
Alive. She wants him alive.
Come and keep him alive, then.
Mirholt.
Say the rest of it, slowly.
The law of the sunless march, mortal. A village that shelters the killer of court immortals burns with him. Every hearth, every name. Lay the knife down, and Mirholt may yet stand. She will name a term of winters under the deep feast. The count is hers alone.
Swear it. The village stands.
The law is not mine to swear. But she keeps her bargains, mortal. It is the only mercy she is known for.
Killed, died easily.
Giddy.
Corvan looked at his knife for a long moment. Then he bent and laid it in the mud himself. Not dropped, laid. They took the white ledger from his coat with something like reverence, and after that the riders were careful with him, almost tender, the way men handle a thing already promised to their queen. And note this, my dear, 3 riders, saddled and waiting, half a day from a quarry that had only just gone quiet. They were not sent after the killings, they were waiting for the finish. They crossed the border stones into the sunless march, where the sun has been dead for 3 centuries. Fled, they say out here, though the moon, for reasons of its own, still keeps its rounds.
Don't bleed on the march, mortal. It notices.
At the border stones, the wounded rider's cheek still seeped. Where the drops fell, the briar moved and flowered. Corvain watched a bud open, like a small red mouth, and said nothing for an hour.
She asked for you by name. Nobody prays their way out of that.
And what does she do with the things she asks for?
She keeps them. When the western baronies rose against her, she choked their wells with salt and bled her lords to water her gardens. Out here, they say the sun didn't die, it fled her.
I've met queens.
Not one that made the sun leave.
They made a cold camp under a briar ridge on the second night. The 2 older riders stood apart in the dark, like gateposts. The young one sat across the shielded flame from his prisoner and talked, because silence out there is heavier than mortals can imagine, and he was not so very far from mortal.
How old were you when they took you?
15. A fence village, west of the Salt Hills. Smaller than yours. They turned me at 20 because I was good with horses.
Do you miss it?
The sun? Every day. Forever. That's the part the stories leave out. You never stop missing the sun.
The deep feast. What is it?
Her table, her right, term, as her vessel means. You'll learn what it means. You'll wish it were only teeth. Don't look away from her eyes, mortal. Whatever she says to you, never look away.
The other 2 riders said nothing for 3 days of travel. The young one's talk, I'm afraid, had been noted. And while the spires rose on Corvan's horizon, Salvethra prepared. The hall of the velvet court does not echo, it swallows. And its courtiers, who have watched centuries of arrivals, waited with the patience of things that no longer need to breathe.
Salt and silver, your soul. How long since those were last brought out? A century?
Isol did not answer. Isol never answers.
Longer, I think. I remember the last one she kept. He lasted a winter and a half, and she was bored of him by midsummer. All this ceremony for a man who holds logs. One would think the sun were coming back. The court has opened its book on him already, did you know? 3 weeks until he kneels. That is the popular money. I took the long side, Isol. I always take the long side. And no one will tell me why the council's box sits out for this one. Isol? No, of course not.
You noticed, of course, what Lord Vershen was careful not to look at while he asked. 7 seals of black wax sitting warm and ignored on a velvet cloth in the heart of the court. An entire hull of predators politely pretending that a locked box is not the most interesting thing in the room. The city of night is not built to impress mortals. It is built to remind them of their size. They watched him pass, the pale and the beautiful and the starving, and none of them made a sound. Corvan catalogued it instead, the way he had catalogued every fortress he had been ordered to break. Gates, sightlines, sentries, distances, old habits, hope or reflex, he no longer knew. And then she came down. Not a walk, a glide, the gown moving against her the way blood moves, patient and warm, and still looking for a heart. Halfway across the hall, she paused. One of you talked on the road. She did not look at the young rider. She did not need to. A pity. He was the only one of you I liked. She never looked at the young rider again. She tilted 2 fingers toward Isol. The boy was led out without a word, and the court did not react at all. That is when Corvan understood that the whispers were the undertold version.
Ooh, she likes this one already.
At the archway, the young rider stopped just once and looked back, not at his queen. At Corvan. Corvan held the look the way you hold a debt. And while the whole held its breath, Corvan's eyes did what a soldier's eyes always do, swept the room and counted. They caught on an iron-bound chest set on a table near the throne, sealed 7 times in black wax. He knew those marks. He had turned past them on the last leaf of the white ledger. His hand twitched toward his belt, toward a knife that was lying in the mud on a quarry road 3 days behind him. Your heart is very loud. She had crossed the hall without seeming to cross it, and stood close enough to share his breath, and his body, his traitor body, veteran of everything the red snow could do to a man, leaned toward her. Half an inch, no more. He strangled the motion instantly. She had felt it anyway. So, the Reckoner himself. They sing that you cannot be made to kneel.
Songs exaggerate.
I do hope not. I collect impossible things. Her fingers traced the air above his vein of his wrist, an inch of nothing between her nails and his pulse. Then she began to circle him, the way winter circles a house. Tell me of the river, the one your drunkards sing about.
It was frozen. We crossed. The rest is arithmetic.
10,000 dead in a single night is not arithmetic, gravedigger. It is appetite.
Then you'd know it better than me.
Would I? I have never once pretended to be a harness mender. She lifted one hand and read him without touching, tracing the air over each scar like a scholar over old script. Spear, there, below the ribs, a wall hook. That one nearly had you. And this, at the collar. Teeth. So you had met my kind before you ever burned my quarries?
It died knowing me.
They all seem to. Tell me, Reckoner, what frightens a man that nothing has managed to kill?
Quiet winters.
Oh, and I have 3 of yours. The court did not laugh with her. The court did not dare. She completed her circle and stopped before him, and the head tilted again, pricing him piece by piece. So many scars, and not one of them taught you to yield. I confess I cannot decide whether to fix that or frame it.
The tithe-men I burned, they were yours?
Everything north of the border stones is mine.
Then you know why I came.
The girl in the mill. Yes, one name out of a book of hundreds. And for one name, a retired butcher walks out of his fog and burns 12 of my immortals.
13. You miscounted your clerk.
The hull changed pressure. Her hand, hovering above his wrist, went motionless, and for one held breath, the amusement left her face entirely, and what looked out from behind it was very old and very hungry. Do you know what I felt when word of you reached me? Guess.
Anger.
Relief. 300 years may fly, and I had begun to fear the whole species had gone tame.
We bury our dead. We don't price them.
You did not come, sweet thing. You were brought. But I do adore that you have decided to remember it differently.
The law of the march, a village that shelters the slayer of court blood, burns with him, root and rafter, hearth and name. So it is written.
So it is written, but I find I am in a rare mood to sell mercy. 3 winters, Corvan Dreth, 3 winters as my vessel under the deep feast, your vein opened to no lips but mine, and your village stands unburned. A fair price? No? Most mortals would have wept, or knelt, or both. Corvan's gaze went once to the archway the young rider had been taken through. One more line in a long account, and then he spoke, and his voice did not shake.
Mirholt comes off the ledger, the book your writers lifted from my coat. Every name struck in front of me. Begin with the girl from the mill.
The dead do not benefit from bookkeeping, little mourner. You came 2 nights too late to be her hero. All that is left to buy her is a line of ink.
The living do. While I bleed for you, no tithe wagon crosses Mirholt's fence. No collection nights. No velvet sleep. 3 winters of my blood buys 3 winters of theirs.
You negotiate like a quartermaster.
I was one, between wars. And your clause cuts both ways, Majesty. No lips but yours means no lips but mine feed you.
The court went utterly still. Both ways. You would put a collar on me, in my own hall.
A bargain with one collar isn't a bargain. It's a feeding.
Careful, Majesty. It starts with a clause.
Be still, Visan. The grown-ups are trading. And what makes you imagine, my next Visan, that by the 2nd winter you will still want that clause enforced?
Strike the names. We'll find out.
Audacious, impudent, done. He told himself it was arithmetic. 7 familiar sigils on a chest 10 paces away, and 3 winters is a long time to stand that close to them. A soldier's math, clean and cold. He told himself twice, my dear, a man only repeats the things he does not believe.
Salt for the binding, silver for the debt. The oath holds drinker and vessel alike. She to her word, he to his winters. So it has always held, so it holds now.
Remember those words, my dear. Everyone in that hall did.
The vessel answers.
I am the debt.
And I am the collector. Begin. The dagger was cold. Her hand was colder. Cold enough that the heat of his own blood, welling between their pressed palms, felt suddenly obscene, like something private, exposed in front of a watching court. He did not look away from her. The young rider's advice, as it happened, was no longer necessary. Your hands are shaking, little soldier.
It's winter.
It is always winter here. The oath settled into him the way cold settles into iron, all the way through. He felt her pulse through their joined hands. She had one. It was deep and old, and for one disorienting heartbeat, his own tried to match it. And then, this is the part he never told anyone, my dear, the weight came off. The river, the valley in spring. Years of watching over a village that didn't know it was being watched, and longer still, standing guard over his own name. All of it lifted, for exactly as long as her hand held his. His body had braced for pain. It was given rest instead. His knees nearly failed him, not from weakness, but from relief, and he locked his jaw and hated, with everything left in him, how much her cold hand felt like coming in from the snow. Oh, listen, your heart. A moment ago, it was a war drum. Now it thinks it has come home.
It's lying.
Of course it is. Isole, the book. Isole brought the white ledger open to Mirholt's pages, and Carmilla, her hand still joined to his, drew one clean line through Mara's name with his own blood wet on her thumb. A debt struck with the debtor's blood. Even the court, which has seen everything twice, leaned into its own stillness. The girl from the mill, struck and witnessed. The rest of your village, name by name. At each feast, you will attend the bookkeeping personally. I know how you love arithmetic.
And the feast?
Tomorrow's moonrise, Isole will prepare you. Eat well, ration. I intend to. And then she watched the last dark bead rise between their fingers with the patience of someone who has already decided not to drink it yet. 3 winters. She bent her head, and what she pressed to his knuckles was not quite a kiss. We'll see, little soldier, if by the first thaw you still remember wanting to leave. They led him out past the table, past the velvet cloth, past the box an entire court is careful never to see. And as he passed it, Corvan heard, faint, behind 7 seals of black wax, a heart begin to beat. Here is the detail that matters, my dear. That heart had not been beating a moment before. Something in that hall, his blood on the silver, his voice in that silence, who can say, reached through iron and wax and awoke it. No one else turned to look, perhaps no one else could hear it, or perhaps the court has simply had 300 years of practice at not hearing. But I am getting ahead of myself. The feast comes at moonrise. The ledger waits to be struck, name by name, in front of a man who counts everything. And the little soldier still remembers wanting to leave. As for the heart, whose it is and why it chose that moment to beat, that, my dear, is a story for a deeper winter.